Hello and welcome. We have a couple of viewers already. Good to see you guys. Who is here? Let us know that you're there. Muriel, I think you signed on yesterday, and now you're back with us. I saw your note that apparently you got the days mixed up, but now you're here with us. Very cool. I don't know if my mom will be here. She spent the night in the hospital with my stepdad, who had an emergency yesterday. Apparently he had a heart attack, so he's laid up in the hospital. He's healing up, so I don't know that we'll get to see my mom on here. Jonathan will be joining us in about half an hour, as he's I think we mentioned last week that he started new courses at HUC, Hebrew Union College, and they gave him one on Monday evening that ends at 5:30, so he'll join us at 5:30. All right. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing okay. It's late, but we're coming along. I have a lot of deadlines coming up for my projects. But,
oh no.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Deadlines can be stressful.
Life, yeah. That's life.
Well, so we got with us. Yeah. What are you working on? What are you working on?
I'm working on an article about this third sibling oracle and Egyptian prophecy, and then also just basically a book about Judaism in Egypt in the Ptolemaic times, and that book has to be finished within a year. So,
wow,
it's quite a
well, Muriel jumped in. She says, "Yeah," because she was jumped on last night. Now she's back. Rasmus, howdy, good evening. And Colton is joining us as well. Okay, so we've got a new layout for our Joshua reading. I just sat down last night and put up a different PowerPoint, so I hope you like it. We're reading Joshua 5.1, chapter 5, verse 1 in Hebrew, and reading through. We're starting to get to the point where the Israelite army is going to encompass the city and cause the walls to fall. I think the walls come down in chapter 6. So we're making some progress here. All right, so let's get started. The first verse is one that's actually pretty long, and strangely enough, I think the whole thing is missing from the Septuagint. This verse isn't, if I read the BHS correctly. But I'll go ahead and get started on this one because it's a long one, a heavy one, and then we'll jump in. So let's go from the beginning. First word, Vayehi, sets up our past narrative, right? Vayehi chishmoa kol malchei ha'emori asher be'ever hayarden yama v'chol malchei ha'kna'ani asher al hayam et asher hovish Adonai et mei hayarden mipnei bnei Yisrael ad ovrם וימס לבבם ולא היה בם עוד רוח מפני בני Yisrael. That's a long verse. Let's go with setting out what the verbs are. Okay, so Vayehi is our establishing the narrative past, and it came to be, or it was. Let's see. Hovish is in a subordinate clause. Asher hovish. Ovram is an infinitive construct. Okay, this is all setting up the verse, and then the actual verse, first verb comes here, vayimas, velo haya, and that's all the verbs. Okay, so let's go through them. And it happened, okay, in the past. According to the hearing, means when they heard, and the subject of this is within the construct phrase. According to the hearing of all the kings of the Amorite, that is the Amorite people, which are beyond the Jordan, we're going to say are, which are beyond the Jordan, to the sea, and all the kings of the Canaanite, that is the Canaanite people, which is or are upon the sea. Okay, it's not really upon the sea, it really means beside it, right? Like on the shore. Okay, now this is when they heard, and this tells us what they heard. When they heard, basically that the Lord dried up. Hovish comes from yavesh. Yavesh means dry. Hovish is the Hifil version. He dried up. That the Lord dried up the waters of the Jordan from before the sons of Israel, that is the Israelites. He dried up the waters until their crossing. Means as long as it took for them to get across. Notice that I've got the word in gray, this word. This is 𝗔𝗓𝗦𝗓𝗏. 𝗔𝗓𝗦 means our crossing. It's as if the author was putting himself in the text. 𝗔𝗓𝗦, our crossing. This is an instance of 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗢𝗙 and 𝗥𝗘𝗓𝗙. 𝗥𝗘𝗓𝗙 is 𝗥𝗘𝗓𝗙. It means that one thing is written in the consonantal text of the Bible, that is the word 𝗔𝗓𝗦, and another is expected to be read. It's correct. It's a correction that the Masoretes inserted by note, and that is 𝗔𝗓𝗻, their passing, until they had crossed. Not we, but they. Okay? Their hearts, that's the hearts of these kings that were hearing it, melted. Vayimas levavam, their heart melted. Velo haya, and there was not in them, vam, od ruach. Od ruach. Ruach here means courage. They didn't have any spirit. They didn't have any courage. Their hearts were melted, and they had no more bravery, because they heard that God had parted the waters from before the sons of Israel, meaning that they did not have the courage to stand up or to stand against the Israelites because of what they had heard that God had done for them. One thing we would note, where here we've got mipnei bnei Yisrael with bet, but here we have mipnei vnei Yisrael with the bet with no dagesh. If we are noting the difference is in the accentuation structure. So this is tipcha, or mercha, mercha is a conjunctive accent. Conjunctive. So when it has the bet after it with the vowel, it's connected. So it's mipnei vnei Yisrael. And this one is tipcha, which is disjunctive. Disjunctive means it's breaking it. And so this causes a break, which means that the bet after it is going to have the dagesh lene, the dagesh kal. So then it's mipnei bnei Yisrael. It's the same phrase, but because of the accentuation, one is conjunctive and the other is disjunctive, and so we get the loss of dagesh in after the conjunctive accent. Any questions before? How is that? That's a long verse. Hope you didn't struggle too much with that. All right, well, let's keep going. Oh, I wanted to show quickly before we move on that this is in the BHS, because when I was preparing, I was reading the BHS. And when I got to that part, my brain was kind of farting a little bit, because I'm reading it as 𝗔𝗓𝗦, like Ayin, O, V, Ra, Nu. And I'm like, what is that? Because it's supposed to be 𝗔𝗓𝗦. 𝗔𝗓𝗦 is the infinitive construct. And so I read it, and I was like, wow, okay, so I'm going to have to get to the computer and search and see if there are other instances of 𝗔𝗓𝗦. Maybe it's pause or something like that, because it was weird. But only afterwards, I recognized that there's the circlet, that little circle on top of the word. And that's pointing us to the margin. And in the margin, we have the kuf that stands for kri that we mentioned before. Kri means read it this way. And it says with the consonants ovram. And ovram is what the kri is supposed to be. That's how it's structured with the BHS, just so you know. All right. You want to go for it?
Yeah.
Mr. Luke?
Okay, I'm reading from my text though. בעת ההיא אמר אדוני אל יהושע, עשה לך חרבות צורים, ושוב מול את בני ישראל שנית. So we got kind of a easy verse, but at that time, the Lord said to Joshua, make for yourself swords of flint, or probably blades of flint or something like this. Yeah. Is flint or a kind of stone, and again, circumcise, mol is circumcise. I think it's the infinitive. No, an imperative. Circumcise the sons of Israel a second time. So it's, yeah, this shuv mol is probably, shuv means actually again, but then when you have it with the verb form like this, or like to do something again, to repeat.
Yeah, so you got the word again twice, right? Shuv and shenit. Shenit is a second time or again.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. About that word mol, to circumcise. It's kind of an ugly word, isn't it? Because the passive, the nifal is lehimol. Lehimol. The forms of the word are really hard. You'd have to look them up to really get them in your head. But that is what it is. The present tense, he circumcises, or the past tense is mal. Humal et beno, he circumcised his son. Mal. The adjective is taken from the nifal, and you say nimol, circumcised. Yeah? Cool. So we noticed that the beginning of this is a time expression, ba'et hahi, at that time. And so that's taking up first position in the structure. The second position is occupied by the verb, and then the subject is reduced to the third position. Cool. Any questions or comments? Good discussion. Oh, good. Yeah, we could talk more about the accents, but that isn't exactly our specialization. You will notice that lately on the Daily Dose of Hebrew, they are having discussions about accentuation and the structure of the accents. And it's really good. You should spend some time on it if you're interested in that kind of thing. And Colton, I'm always interested when there's a plural noun marked by a singular word, their heart. Yep. The first time that I heard of this was in high school when the Spanish teacher said, something about sombrero. How did she say? Nowadays, my Spanish is like disappearing because of Hebrew. But she said basically the structure in Spanish, you say, they wore a hat. They wore a hat. And it doesn't mean one hat. It means they all wore hats, but the structure is used for the singular. So it happens a lot in Hebrew that you say, levavam, their heart, and you can't imagine that they all have the same heart and they're sharing one heart. They're like the Borg. It's not the case. It's really their hearts. But when we translate, I don't know if we'd say their heart or their hearts, because there's literally in Hebrew it's singular. Good call, though.
Maybe we should say something
all right.
the root of the word for to circumcise can be mem lamed lamed and mem vav lamed, I think.
Mem vav lamed or
mem lamed lamed.
Well, that's interesting. I always went with this one. This to me looks like speaking.
Yeah, there's that too. That's the third root with mem lamed lamed. But there's also one to become pale, to dry up.
Wow.
There's three different. But basically, well, I mean, when we get to 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, we'll look at the gimel lamed lamed. That's kind of a fun one.
I'm sure you know the word milulit. Milulit in modern Hebrew, meaning it's like literally.
Yeah.
Like according to the words, literally. Milulit. From mem lamed lamed. Cool. All right. Vaya'aslo. Notice the connection between the indirect object and the verb. Vaya'aslo Yehoshua. This is the subject. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗧. What's that?
I was just going to ask a question about 2 in the Septuagint, but we can go back to it.
All right. Vaya'aslo Yehoshua 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗧. Notice that this is 𝗕𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗏. Is 𝗕𝗑𝗏? 𝗕𝗑𝗏 is the word here. 𝗥𝗘𝗦 is 𝗕𝗑𝗏, meaning sword. Is it masculine or feminine? 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗥𝗡. Can't remember if it's 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗥𝗡𝗏 or 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗥𝗡𝗏.
I think,
but this is construct.
There can be both. There's some words that are going into, like ruach can be both, and depending on if it's Middle Ages Hebrew or not.
Yeah, and sakin is a knife, and you say sakin chad or sakin chada. People will say both. Yeah, in the Agadah it's kos sheni, even though today would say kos shnia. Yeah. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗏 tzurim. This is the swords of flints, the flintstones that you meant. Flintstones, where the Flintstones? But this is flintstone swords or knives. So he made them for himself. Vaya'aslo, and he made for himself. That's the verb with the indirect object tied together. They're strongly related. Subject in second. Well, it would be considered third position because the vav consecutive occupies the vav is like first. Verb is like second, and subject is third. Vayamol. Notice the O in that second sentence, second syllable, because it is, or third syllable, excuse me, the last syllable, because it's mol. Vayamol, like vayakom. Vayamol et bnei Yisrael el גיבעת הארלות. I don't know where גיבעת הארלות is, but it's a place. And he circumcised the children of Israel, the sons of Israel. It needs to be sons because he doesn't circumcise the girls. The sons of Israel, toward גיבעת הארלות. Do you know where that is?
I don't know where it is. No, I think it probably just have a question mark in the. But there's okay. If we look at that verse, the word 𝗕𝗑𝗏, I'm looking in the dictionary. It says here. Apparently, it says 𝗕𝗑𝗏 is feminine, like in Ugaritic, but in Jewish Aramaic texts, it's masculine, and in Syriac, it's common gender. So it is kind of, you know, I think it's one of those words that.
What's common gender? Syriac has a third, a neuter?
No, I don't think so. It's been a long time since I read it, but I think it just means.
Or is common common means sometimes masculine, sometimes feminine?
I think. I mean, I'd have to look in the Kal Aramaic.
That's how some verbs are in Hebrew. Like if you say they heard shamu, it's common gender because you could say hem shamu, they heard, like men, or hen shamu, they heard feminine. And you say, אני הלכתי can be masculine, or a woman could say, אני הלכתי. So it's common gender.
But
Used for both.
The Aramaic makes it seem that you would have Hebrew speakers that are kind of confused, and they would say 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗙 and 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗙, whatever.
Yeah. I'm throwing the logos up here because I want to look up that 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡𝗙, see if maybe it means something besides just.
It's the foreskins. The foreskins, isn't it?
𝗟𝗜𝗩, כן.
𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗚.
𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗚.
Or
𝗟𝗜𝗩 is.
Yeah.
So it's the hill of the foreskins. That's nice.
Yeah. That's. I mean,
it's not a real place.
If there was a place called that, and then they said afterwards, oh yeah, that's where they were circumcised, or who knows.
I'm trying to go to Joshua, and I'm like, why won't it go to Joshua? And then I notice it's 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗃. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗃 doesn't have Joshua. All right. So 𝗥𝗚𝗚 is a foreskin, the noun, and 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗃 is the plural of 𝗥𝗚𝗚. Brilliant. Okay. It says 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗃𝗚, Joshua 5:3 is the only place that it's found. All right. Well, that's one thing.
Okay.
Something that exists.
If you go back to verse 2 for a second. This is kind of strange. The shuv is translated as if it's from the root yod shin vav. It's 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗧 in the Greek, which is to make something like this. And I don't understand what kind of sense that would be. And after having taken his place, or after seating them, or after.
No, it's So this is what it would read it as, is if this were v'shev as an imperative, because when you have mol as an imperative, you have an imperative. Before it, you could have Hebrew another imperative, but in Greek, you would, instead of an imperative, you'd have a participle, an aorist participle. Having done this, do this, and it should be translated, both of them, as an imperative. So they're reading it as if it was v'shev mol et bnei Yisrael shinit, which kind of gets rid of the unnecessary repetition in shuv and shinit.
Yeah, but what does it mean to and sit or establish yourself and circumcise?
Well, I think it's just like, in order to do it, you're not going to be standing up. Like, these are grown men, Sit down and do it. Like, take a seat and do the surgery act a second time. Yeah. Interesting. Neat. If they read it the shev instead of the shuv.
Yeah, that's the shev. Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to comment on the form of vayas. We don't get to do it enough to understand where this came from as far as morphology. This is something that thrills me. It's really nice. Of course, the root is ein sin hey. Third hey roots are in historical discussions yod. Ein sin yod. If we're talking about the root, ein sin yod. What happens is, in the past, we've got a hey, a sa. Okay, if we take it into the future, the structure changes, and the structure would be ya, se, but we don't like the ein. The ein doesn't like the shva. It's not a closed syllable. It's a vocal shva. It's ya-se, ya-se. Ya-se is the future. And then what we have in the jussive, that is, let him do it. The jussive for third hey or third yod roots drops the final syllable. And this cannot stand in a closed syllable because now it's ya-as. The real stress is on the beginning, ya. And because the patach is not a real vowel, it's a half vowel, so it can't have the word stress, obviously. And what happens is this just closes up, and the ayin takes a regular patach to resolve this weird situation in which you have a vocal shva, in the middle of the word. Ya'as, ya'as, let him do, may he do. And then the vav consecutive is formed on the root, on the shape of the jussive. Vaya'as. Vaya'as means and he did, or and he made. Vaya'as. Same thing happens with ana, he answered. Vaya'an. Vaya'an, and he answered. And there are other verbs in which this happens, where the hay is 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, I think is the word. It means dropped. I don't know why they use these big ugly words. They drop the hay at the end of a third hay verb. Vaya'as, and he made. So many times you're going to see these weird combinations. If you got the yod here, you got the ayin sin. Imagine in your head that there's a hay there. And sometimes you actually will see this, like we noticed in reading 1 Kings together last year, that we do see vayase. Vayase means and he did or and he made. No meaning, no difference in meaning between vaya'as and vayase. Vaya'an, vaya'ane. Vayiven, vayivne. Like you can have it either way. Just to talk a little bit about the form. Let's see if there's any questions I'm missing while I'm looking at that. All right, let's run, see what we got here. What would it even mean to circumcise the sons of Israel again? No, it's not to circumcise the same ones. It means that this is the second round of circumcisions that they're doing to the children of Israel as a large group. They had done it before, and this is a new generation that had not undergone circumcision. And so they were doing it as a group a second time. And when was the last time they were circumcised? It was the generation that entered the wilderness. Yes, exactly. This is the generation that has replaced those who died in the wilderness, and they're about to enter the promised land. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, exactly. Correct. Brilliant. Okay, let's move to the next verse.
If you're interested in these kind of questions, there's a book called 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, and it's just basically, it looks like it's got the text, and you have a bunch of commentators who talk about the chronology about this kind of stuff. There's some that are more technical and really helpful, and some that
yeah, if you can read commentary in Hebrew, 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡 is generally referred to in English as the Rabbinic Bible, because it's the Bible that the rabbis would use for their interpretations. You can access it in a couple of ways. If you search Google, 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡, you're going to pop up Wikisource. Wikisource is, like Wikipedia, but with texts. I don't know if you can see. Maybe I'll make that.
Yeah.
𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. This is how it looks in print. You go on Wikisource, and you can look up, for example, the book of Joshua. Okay, so this is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. Joshua is in the middle, and Nevi'im, the prophets. Chapter 5. We're in verse. Which one was that? Verse 2, verse 3, verse 3.
Verse 2.
That's chapter 3. Sorry. Okay, verse 2 of chapter 5. It's Perek Hey. Verse Bet, Pasuk Bet. Okay, it's going to give you several different things. Number 1 is the consonantal text without any vowels. Number 2 is the text with vowels added. Number 3 is the vowels with the ta'amim, the ta'amei mikar, the trope. And then after that, Jonathan, the Targum, because the Targum is in all of the 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. They always include the Hebrew and Aramaic. After that, they've got the commentary of Rashi. This is the most important rabbinic commentary that exists on the Tanakh. And they also do the commentary on the Talmud. In this case, they've got the Ralbag. They've got Yoshua Ditrani. I've never heard of him before. Metzudat David, Metzudat Zion. Just a whole bunch of different commentaries. And you could get the printed edition, like Luke was showing you. You could just go online and see this one. Also, we've mentioned before the website 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. MG stands for 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗢𝗏. Let's go through it again. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. I don't want it to fill in the /Tanakh. 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘 is 𝗥𝗘𝗚𝗚𝗛, and 𝗥𝗘𝗘 refers to the 𝗕𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗢𝗏, which is the what we call it, Aleppo Codex. Okay, so this is put out by the University of Bar-Ilan University in Petah Tikva in Israel. If you go to any text, I would click where I would start is the Tanakh. Tanakh is the Bible. You've got Mesorah, it's the traditional text. The Perushim are the commentators like Rashi and whatever. Targum Arami is the Aramaic translation. But I would go to the Tanakh, go to Iyun. Iyun is like peruse, like look through it. I would go to book, Sefer, and then in this case we've got Nevi'im, prophets, Yoshua, Perek, Hey. Okay, now we're in chapter 5. There we are. We can see Ovranu. Ovranu is Ktiv Kari with Ovram. I don't know if you're looking at that. If you go to Atzeg is to display, like display something. At the bottom it says Tanakh ve'ezrim nosafim, azarim nosafim, and at the bottom we've got 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗡. This is the Aleppo Codex that we've talked about. It'll pop up the text of the Aleppo Codex that you can look at. You can make full size, really look at the Aleppo Codex. Very nice. There are also Tanakh ve'Perush. It's the Tanakh and its commentators. You've got Rashi. If you click on Rashi, it'll give Rashi's commentary for the whole of the text. The black indicates, like the bold indicates the text that actually it's commenting on. Okay. You've got Rashi in this case. You've got Yosef Kara, Radak, Ralbag that we saw before. Radak is also a commentator that's highly referred to. It's also in most printed editions of the Mikal Gdolot. But they've got so many commentaries. So if you have access to reading medieval Hebrew or modern Hebrew, and you want to go through the commentators, you have access to them. You just have to know where to look. So they're online. And that's what he's referring to about Mikal Gdolot.
Yeah, this kind of question is something the rabbis would have asked, and your answer, the Colton's answer, I read in somewhere in one of these commentators. So that's the basic information. That it's just fun to read it. But there's Radak and Rashi are really sometimes important for other things, for linguistic arguments or whatever.
Interesting for our point is that Rashi tends to really weigh heavily on issues of syntax and the meaning of words, right?
Okay.
Didn't Rashi know French?
Yeah, I was going to say if you're really into Rashi, you're going to have to know Old French and figure out. There's a lot of words. I published a Rashi manuscript on Ezekiel, and I had to go to Old French dictionaries for the. But I mean, it's Old French and Old German are pretty much the same. I mean, there's a little bit of overlap. So from German, I knew what it meant, but he's for Old French. It's really important to know that you'll run across some words that are really strange, and you won't be able to read them in Hebrew until you realize, it's Old French.
Yeah, so, like you run across a word and you're like sounding it out. You're like, what in the world is that?
Yeah, I think what I had was 𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗔𝗕𝗦𝗔𝗕𝗧, and imagine reading that in a Hebrew script and being like, what is he talking about?
That's a fun thing. That's one of the things that indicates authorship for. I don't know if you know Sholem Gershom Sholem.
Gershom Sholem.
Yeah. He's one who talked about. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome. He's one who talked a lot about the authorship of the Zohar, which is the base text of the Kabbalistic tradition. And he brought up how many times that the Spanish language crept into the Aramaic text of the Zohar. And that would have been impossible if it was written by Bar Yochai, Shimon Bar Yochai, that they claim wrote it. Like the traditional Kabbalists claim wrote it. So very cool. Jonathan, welcome. Are you ready to jump in on Joshua 5:4?
Sure.
Well, I guess we could be a little social and say, how were your studies today, Jonathan?
Oh, they're okay. We did some medieval Hebrew, and it is hard. Yeah, it is hard. But
I wonder if you're going to come one day and say, we did medieval Hebrew, and it was really easy.
No, probably not.
Yeah, you should enlighten us about what you're reading, because it's kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. I'll share. I can share some of it. Okay. So v'zeh hadavar asher mol. It would be mol, right? Mol Yehoshua.
Mal.
Is it mal?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the accent's there. Because the accent's there. Yep.
Yeah.
Mal Yehoshua kol ha'am vayotze mimitzrayim hazcharim kol anshe hamilchama metu vamidbar baderech b'tzotam mimitzrayim.
Not b'tzotam, but b'tzeitam.
B'tzeitam, of case.
And one more thing here, you had a mem that you read. It's a hey. So it's hayotze.
I read a mem?
I think you said mi yotze.
Forgive my
That's okay, you're tired.
I am tired.
No, this is really interesting. Is there between hey and mem? Because my son, when he was reading Hebrew, sometimes he sees the hey and reads the mem. And I'm like, what? How can you mix those up? And he's only
interesting.
Yeah, I don't. But now that interesting that you made this mistake too. I don't understand how this mistake comes about. But maybe.
Well, Jonathan also is a 5-year-old son, 5-year-old child. So.
What?
Maybe.
I am.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, I am 5 times 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yalla, daberi tanu.
So
daberi lenu.
I don't know what to do with this, actually. V'zeh hadavar. This is a thing that asher mal. That's not a third aleph, is it? Third alephs don't fall off.
What's a third aleph? No, this is mol.
We just had this. It could be that root or malal, but here it's mol. Yeah, it's mol, obviously. And the verb 5.2 is malal. But don't know.
Yeah. So what is that?
This is the thing that Joshua circumcised.
Oh,
it is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing that's what I was thinking, but I was like, that can't be right. So this is the thing which Joshua circumcised, and it says everyone that went out from Egypt. So is that who he circumcised?
The NRSV takes davar here as reason. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised them.
Oh yeah, and then all of the people went out from Israel from Egypt.
All the people that went out.
The people of Israel went out from Egypt.
No, all the people that went out of Egypt. That the ha here has to be taken as a relative clause.
Yeah, relative. All the people that went out from Egypt, the elders, all the men of battle died.
Not elders, but males.
Yeah, all males. Yeah, all of the men of battle died in the wilderness on the way of their going out. So when they went out from Egypt.
Yeah, so if zachar and zcharim, zachar means male. Okay, what's female?
Is it 𝗥𝗚𝗚? 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗡𝗏? Is that female?
Nekeva. Nekeva. So when you look in a dictionary and you see zayin with a geresh, like a little apostrophe, and by a noun, and you see nun with a little mark beside it, zayin means zachar, masculine, and nun means feminine, nekeva, in dictionaries that are written in Hebrew. You want to see an example? Let's show a quick example for the viewers. All right, so a popular dictionary in Israel is morphix.com. It links to morphix.co.il, because IL is the Israel extension. Okay, so if you look up, let's look up 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘, since we were talking about it. 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘.
Oh, I'm looking up now in Evan Shoshan.
If you check 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗘, I don't have access to Evan Shoshan anymore. I bought a lifetime license from Babylon, and you know, lifetime license on Babylon is useless if you don't pay them every year for their software. How ridiculous. All right, so we see the word 𝗥𝗚𝗦.
Yeah, it's
Try to make it really big for you. Oh, come on, get off there. What is with these advertisements? Go away. How do I make it disappear? It's blocking the whole screen.
Yeah, they put on a lot of advertisements.
Okay, so we've got
Did they used to
𝗥𝗚𝗦.
not have those?
I don't know. I think they
They're
always have.
trying to figure out how to make money.
Yes. So 𝗥𝗚𝗦, that's what you get when you get free dictionary. That's excellent. 𝗥𝗚𝗦, sword, court, see, sword, fencing, saber, whatever. Lightsaber. 𝗥𝗚𝗦. It says it's noun. Shem means noun. Shem, technically it's Shem Etzem. And then it says nun with geresh. And that means feminine. It's a feminine noun. Let's think of the word ruach. Oh my goodness, go away. I have to shrink the screen to get it to go away. Ruach says Shem, noun, zachar v'nekeva.
Masculine.
Oh.
That one. We're taking it.
Okay, so zayin ve-nekeva. Zayin ve-nun. It means masculine and feminine.
Okay.
Very nice. And if we look up, what's a word? Yom, day. Okay, it's going to tell us that it's Shem, Zayin. Zayin is masculine. Shem, Zayin. I want to look up an adjective real quick before we go off of this. Yafeh. Yafeh is an adjective. And it says Toar. Toar is short for Shem Toar. Shem Toar is an adjective, a noun of description. Toar is description. Shem Toar and Shem Etzem. Shem Etzem is a noun. Shem Toar is an adjective. That's it. That's a lot of back and forth. I hope you enjoyed that. Notice, though, that Zayin is masculine for Zachar, and Nun is feminine for Nekeva. See what we got here. I agree that reading Hebrew in Hebrew is hard enough, and we don't need all the addition of French, German, and Spanish into Hebrew. But this is a problem with reading modern Hebrew, that a lot of our words in modern Hebrew were taken from Russian and taken from English and taken from French. And so when we read words that have no vowels on them, we have to sit and try to sound out these words in languages we don't even know. But that's fun. So meditation, even though in biblical Hebrew we have a perfectly good word for meditation, which is hirhur, hey resh, hey vav resh, hirhur halev, meditation of the heart. Let's see. There's also the word hegyon libi, the meditation of my heart. That's in the Bible. But even though that's the case, the technical word for meditation today, if you're doing meditation, is taken from Russian, and you say meditatsiya. You don't say it with a Russian accent. You say meditatsiya. but it comes from Russian. Isn't that fun? So you have to sound that out whenever you're reading words. Zachal comes from Akkadian, the same word for zikurot in Arabic, same root used for animal dildos used in cultic practice. That is nasty. But you can imagine why. You could imagine why such a toy would be referred to as a male. Very interesting and gross. I even saw university on 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗩𝗘 homepage, and university is 𝗓וניברסיטה in modern Hebrew. So fun. Okay, so
look at the beginning of this. Is there a way to read the 𝗔𝗕𝗬𝗓 as in this way and in this manner?
Because in my brain, once you say ofen or once you say manner, I go to ofen. But ofen hazeh.
Yeah, but you don't. It's not hadavar hazeh. It's 𝗔𝗕𝗬𝗓. Okay, and this is the thing, or in this is the way, or this is the manner, this is the. It's something like this. I don't know.
This is the thing that he.
This is the way in which.
Yeah, it's.
In which.
Let's see what other translation.
Joshua circumcised all the people.
So this is NIV.
Okay. I don't have any.
NIV. This is why he did so.
Okay. Okay, this is why he did so.
This is going to be in Hebrew. Ignore that. Like some English Bible. Too small. Bigger. Okay, verse 4. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised all the people.
Okay, this is the
English
reason.
Standard. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised them. Christian Standard Bible. I don't even know what that is. I've got Bibles on here I've never heard of. This is the reason Joshua circumcised them.
Yeah, do you know that?
Here's the 1985 Tanakh. This is the reason why. What's it?
There's a really good German literal translation.
This is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. It's from the old JPS 1917, which is generally based on the King James. Let's look up Davar and Halot and see if it gives it as reason. Siba. There's matter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the German one also, and this is the reason why. This is the reason why Joshua circumcised them.
Yep. The Bal Dvarim is he who has a cause, like somebody who has something to take to court.
Okay. Yeah, okay, this is the reason. I like it. This is the reason. Okay.
Good.
The Greek has in this manner, Joshua purified the sons of Israel. So.
All right. Did we get through? Yeah, we got through all of that into translation. Any questions or issues? Obviously, we have an issue with 𝗔𝗕𝗬𝗓, but we have come to a reasonable conclusion for it, I think. All right. So next verse 5, is up to Luke.
Okay. Let's see, where are we? כי מולים היו כל העם היוצאים וכל העם הילודים במדבר בדרך בצאתם ממצרים לא מעלו.
All right, this addresses directly what the question was earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
this
because they were circumcised. The whole. How do you say it?
Maybe the whole nation.
The whole nation was circumcised, which departed, which was going out from Egypt, is implied, and all the nation, which was.
You know, it would be smart to make Am here door, like generation, right? All the generation that's coming out was circumcised. and all the generation born in the desert, blah, blah, blah.
All the generation born in the desert and during the sojourn, as when they went out from Egypt, was not circumcised.
Yeah. So the ones that were in Egypt when they left had been circumcised, but the ones that were wandering around after their parents had died were not circumcised, and they needed to be circumcised before taking possession of the land.
Yeah.
Great.
And-
It's something we already knew, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Sweet. Jonathan, how you holding up?
Good. Doing okay.
You're loving the Hebrew. Loving it.
I am. I'm a little bit under the weather today.
You say, I'm loving it. Like McDonald's. But it's kosher.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hebrew is kosher. All right.
I have to do
Key.
this whole darn thing.
Oh, no, you did 4.
Oh, yeah. So it's your turn.
The long ones are falling on me. Ki 40 shana הלכו בני ישראל במדבר. כי 40 שנה הלכו בני ישראל במדבר. This is the verb, right? This is the temporal, the time expression, which is fronted. So verb is in the time is first position, verb is second position, and then in third position we get the subject. Great. Sounds wonderful. Ad tom, infinitive construct. Kol hagoy anshe hamilchama hayotzim mimitzrayim. Okay, the tam here almost means met. Met. Tom. Tom is completed, finished. They were finished. They died. Very good. Asher lo sham'u b'kol Adonai, asher nishba Adonai lahem, לבלתי הראותם את הארץ, אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותם, לתת לנו ארץ זבת חלב ודבש. Wow, that's a lot of words, huh? Great. So we talked about the structure. Verb is in second position where it likes to be. For 40 years. 40 years. Notice that shana is singular. It goes with arba'im. That's perfectly expected. You could say 40 shana or 40 shanim, and both are acceptable and beautiful. They went. This is 3MP kal. It's katal. It's the past tense, I guess. They were walking or they were going. Subject is the children of Israel, the Israelites. For the children of Israel were walking in the wilderness for 40 years. Up until the completion, or until the completion of all the nation, that is the nation of Israel, the men of war, anshe hamilchama, the men of war, the ones going out from Egypt. Okay, so it's when it says the completion of them, it means the death of them, until they all died, until all the nation, the men of war who were coming out of Egypt, had died, had been completed. It's the whole generation died, who did not listen to the voice of 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗡𝗥𝗡, Adonai. Okay, which Adonai had sworn to them not to show them. Okay, he had sworn not to show them, not to let them see. This is leharot. It's an infinitive construct, leharot, with laharotam, to show them, or to let them see, to cause them to see. He had sworn not to let them see the land, which the Lord swore to their fathers, avot, avotam. This is an optional form, of course, because you could say avotehem or avotam. Just like bahem or bam. Both of them mean the same thing, in them or by them, something like that. So this is an alternative form, one of the two forms. This is the shorter one. Notice that this is stressed lanu, lanu, that's normal. And so we have the nasoga hov, right? Isn't that what that's called? Where the accent is pulled back. So it's normally latet. Latet is to give, but you're going to notice that the placement of the munach is on the lamed, and then the second syllable is short. Latet lanu, latet lanu. Notice the stress. Latet lanu, even though we would naturally say today, latet lanu, but it's latet lanu. Eretz zavat chalav udvash. This is a fixed expression that's brought into English as a land flowing with milk and honey. A land flowing with milk and honey. And the zav can also, just like we just talked about zachar being maybe a dirty word in some situations, zav can also be a dirty word. This is like eretz zavat, it's feminine, zavat chalav udvash, but zav can mean like an emission. Somebody has an emission at night. This is a purity issue for the Levitical law, ritual purity. So something flowing out. So something flowed out of your body and it causes impurity in the night. This is the same root. That's fun, right? Let's see. Sorry, we got a bunch of questions. Yeah. What does that say?
It says Yilodim. He's asking about the vowel pointing of Yilodim.
That says pointing. Nikud. Yeah. Just write Nikud.
So form is a cloud passive, I think. And I don't know the like the Proto-Semitic the way it's come there, but you would expect like a Yalud. Or cloud passive. I don't know where the E comes from, but I think the O is just because it's not.
Okay, call passive is something that is very rare, right? Normally we think of call passive like you said, yalud, because this is a passive participle. Yalud. But the call was more extensive in the past. And there are certain roots in the Bible that even show up with a call passive in the past tense, like this is a kuf, it doesn't look like it. Lukach. Lakach is the word. Lakach, he took. Lukach is a call passive. And it means he was taken. These words show up in the most amazing of situations. For example, we'll give another word like yulad. Yulad. Another one. Lukach can also be the call future. We got yukach. Yukach, call future. He will be taken. In the story of Adam and Eve, when Eve was taken out of man, the word is lukocha. Lukocha, she was taken. That's very interesting. You should read the verse in Hebrew. In the story of the burning bush, Exodus chapter 3, do you remember what that one is, Luke? With the bush burning but not being devoured? Ukal.
Sneh is a bush.
Yeah, sneh. Eneno ukal. It is not being devoured. Eneno ukal. Yeah. These call passives just appear in the most amazing of places. Like yulad, yeled yulad lanu. Yeled yulad lanu. This is from Isaiah chapter 9. For unto us a child is born. Ki yeled yulad lanu. This is like Handel's Messiah, right? So many amazing places in the text of the Hebrew Bible have these call passives just appear. And call passive is not something that we normally deal with in grammar. Like it's not part of basic grammar because it doesn't happen very much. But it's beautiful. the call passive was replaced over time with the nifal. Nifal. So where the Bible has lukach in various places, in other places it will have nilkach. Nilkach. I cannot write a kuf today, huh? Nilkach. Nilkach and lukach means the same thing. It's just that nifal was taking over the use of the passive for the kal. And ne'echal and ukal mean the same thing. It means it's being eaten or was being eaten, devoured, consumed. So what is yilod? Yilod. Yilod obviously is from yalad, which means gave birth, right? Yalad. If it's a noun, it's valad. Valad becomes yeled. Yeled is a child, right? Yalda is a girl. Yilod is its own form. I think it's a noun. Yilod would be something born in a place. How would we define that exactly? Let's look it up actually in Halot, because it might be interesting. Oh, that's good. Yilod. Why is it not going? Right? Born. Participle called passive. That's how they define it, but we generally read it as if it were a noun, because it's a substantive. One born.
Yeah, the form, though, it's really funny. If you go back to that, the called passive has been lost by Masoretic times. Masoretic point is either as puas or hufas. But look at this. The form is really funny. If you really, like, they say it's from yalod, which goes to it's from yulad, which is the form Jason's been talking about. We'll go to yalad to yalod. I think that's the direction. And Bauer Leandro, I can look it up. It's upstairs. It's German. Bergstrasse. It's basically another grammar that's just like 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗧, but it's the one that survived in German. And the other one, 𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗧, was 𝗥𝗚𝗏. But these three grammars, I could look them up and see, but I'm not familiar with these kind of accent or these changes in the vowels. But you see what he's talking about. Yulad becomes yalod, and then probably yilod, just because it's easier to say. I don't know.
But we also we use this one a lot too. Yalid.
Yalid, yeah. Yalid is that's
we use this in modern Hebrew, and but also yilod. We have it. It appears in modern Hebrew sometimes. I hear it, but yeah. Anyway, very cool, very cool. So look into your grammars. Look up the call passive. This is covered in 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗡𝗥 and Jossberger for sure, because I remember when they talked about the burning bush as a good example. In the older grammars, I don't know if it's going to be designated as call passive, because they are often identified as pual verbs, or as even hufal, because the future of the call passive looks like hufal. The active participle normally The participle normally looks like pual, and the past tense also looks like pual. So it's divided. Let's see where. I want to see real quick where 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗡𝗥 and Jossberger talk about it, and then we'll let this go. The call passive historic
doesn't look like anything, does it? The participle doesn't.
Well, the participle looks like a pual past tense, but not this yilod. Yilod doesn't. But if it were yulad like ukal, then it looks like the pual past tense. 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗡𝗥 and Jossberger cover it on pages 264 to 267, and they pick it up again on pages 387 to 388. So if you've got 𝗥𝗚𝗦𝗡𝗥 and Jossberger, it's a great grammar, like learning grammar, teaching grammar, and it would be a good place to start. All right, so I think we're back to Jonathan, if he's still awake. I know you're exhausted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to make you my slave.
Well,
But it is biblical.
I would like to say that we're past time, 5 minutes over.
Ah, well, okay. Well, see, I was just gonna say that it is biblical for me to hold you as my slave, and I'll treat you well.
Yeah, especially since I'm the lesser physically abled.
Yeah.
Well, you
Let's
can
see
take
what
it from here.
Jason can beat
Rasmus says. Rasmus says the call passive has been lost by Masoretic times, so the Masoretes pointed them either as puals if perfect or hofals as imperfect. Correcto. And that's how we read them. So that's a problem when you look up the word like lukach. Let's get rid of what's on the screen because we don't need it anymore if we're going to stop there. We only got through 6 verses this week because we talked a lot. We talked and talked. So a lot of halot, the dictionary or the lexicon, will label them as pual most of the time, even though they are called passive. It will put like in parentheses, perhaps called passive. But yeah, great. Colton says, thank you all. And what we've got here, but they can be recognized by the fact that their meaning corresponds to the passive of the call stem. Absolutely. Like, okay, so sorry to take another minute. Yalad is normally a call root, like she gave birth. Yalda, she gave birth. But the passive is going to be yulad, built on the kal. If you use it in the PL, liyaled is to perform the duties of a midwife, which is not the same thing as to give birth. Miyaledet is a woman who helps women have birth or give birth. That's a midwife. So these are generally verbs that don't have a PL or a hifil, although Yalad does have a hifil, holid, right? But the passive is indeed built on the call stem. That's how you have to recognize it. So Rasmus is 100% correct. I'm glad to see that your guys' education in Hebrew includes the call passive. That really makes me happy. We are teaching a good group of people. We are speaking to experts. You guys are great. It's now past time, as Jonathan's pointed out, and we're going to go take a 23-minute break and come back for some translation exercises. Wine green. Am Yisrael Chai. It's so nice to spend time with you guys. We'll start next week in Joshua 5:7. See you then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.